Hi everyone, good morning, good evening. Today, welcome to another episode of Data Dojo. We talk here about AI, data science, especially about women in tech who are rocking the world. Today, I have a very special guest with me. I have been lucky to know her for past 2 years, and she is an amazing, passionate woman in tech. She's a business advocate, entrepreneur, social media practitioner, had over 30 years of success in business operations, event management, entrepreneurship. I've had a chance to interact with her twice, being part of her amazing Women in Tech Summit as a speaker and as an attendee. And I'm so proud to see what she has done for our community and channeling women in tech and empowering us. So thank you so much, Gloria. I'll want to hear a few words from you, what you've been doing so far.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so happy to join you and to get to chat with you and share with your audience. I'm Gloria Bell. I am the co-founder of the Women in Tech Summit, or WITS as we call it, and the founder of the Inspiring Tech Foundation. And our mission is to provide opportunities for connection and education to underserved groups in tech. We do that through our primary program, which is the Women in Tech Summit, bringing together women who work in technical roles and non-technical roles to learn and inspire and just connect with each other.
Yeah, and that is needed so much. And thanks to people like you who are making the change and empowering women like us to step up and take up more technical roles and be involved in the technological wave. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, so like you mentioned, your passion clearly shows with what you've been doing. So do you think we are at a stage where we can say that we are achieving the state of equity for women in the tech industry, or do we have a long way to go? What are things at present?
We have definitely made progress. There is still a ways to go. I don't know that, it's for every few steps forward we make. Sometimes I feel like we're taking a couple steps back, but we are definitely better off than we were when I started doing this work, 15 plus years ago. But there is still a ways to go. That was clearly evidented by the news stories that came out recently about the gentleman who had fake female speakers at his conference.
Yeah.
When things like that are still happening, we still have some work to do.
Absolutely. I agree. Do you feel like there are, like you mentioned, one instance, but a lot of men and other genders feel that a lot of attention is being given to women because there are so many groups that are specially made for women in tech, women in data, women in product, and there are no such groups for men. And I see a lot of people asking this question, hey, like you guys have it easy because you have these communities built for you. So do you feel like there is a sort of judgment and people feel like they get it easy because they have this sort of community aspect attached to being a woman?
I hear the same thing. And I think there is, for some people, that perception. I generally remind them that these groups were created because they were needed.
Yeah.
Because all of the groups that existed before were primarily men, and we needed a place. My conference was formed because we needed a place to bring women together to support each other. But it also is why there are organizations like mine and like others where, while we are a conference for women identifying and non-binary individuals in tech, we also don't turn away our male allies.
Yeah.
If there are men who want to be there because they think we're providing great content, they want to support our women and identifying and non-binary speakers, they want to learn how to be a better ally, we encourage them to be there. And I think that kind of atmosphere, creating that, is going to help balance some of that you're getting an advantage because you're creating all of these women's groups. I think, having those conversations will help.
Absolutely. And that is something I observed in the summit that I of yours last time as well. I saw like a couple of men also supporting. So that was very nice to see. I
Mm-hmm.
also feel like a lot of times when people ask me, you have this advantage because you have a community catering just for women. I say that, it's definitely needed because inherently women tend to not feel confident unless and until they have these communities. Whereas it comes down to like applying for a job. I've seen, and many people would agree that when you apply for a job and you look at the women who apply and versus men, it's not like they're not qualified. They always feel that they need to checklist 10 out of 10 in order to apply. So inherently, it's just in their DNA that they sort of need a little bit more push. That's because of since centuries we've been taking the caregiving role and not being in the workforce. So it's needed just to maybe for some time, maybe till the time we reach an equilibrium, then probably it's not needed. But now it's definitely needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's kind of the response to the question when it gets brought up of, you have an advantage because of these groups. Well, it's not an advantage, it's a support system.
Absolutely. I agree. So I'm also curious about like when you started off and you said that it was way more inequality was like way more than when now compared to now. So what are some of the biggest challenges you faced when you were building this community?
One, the numbers. I mean, that in itself, percentage wise, the numbers have not changed. Raw numbers, the numbers have changed. So that is a good thing. The other is just perception. It has become much more common, to see women in certain roles, people of color in certain roles.
Yeah.
Watching those changes over the years, it's become less of a, oh, wow, there's a woman in that role, to, oh, there's a woman in that role.
Mm-hmm.
It's not as unusual. And so watching that change happen has been a really good thing.
Right.
And just overcoming the perception of this is a job a man should be doing versus this is a job a woman should be doing. We have that in every industry. Every industry has that problem. It's not just technology, but baby steps of somebody gets in there and proves that it can be done, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, anybody can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And that has not even changed how we work. That has also changed the dynamics within the family. It's like if you're a couple, let's say my generation, I've seen most of my friends who are married. It's not that the woman is doing the cooking and the household chores. It's equally divided because hey, both of you are putting in equal hours at work. Why should it be the women taking more? But yeah, so that's a good change.
Oh, very good change. And I'm seeing that often across all ages, which is really wonderful. I'm even seeing, couples that are my generation who up until recently, because they're watching younger couples all of a sudden starting to split work more equally, and they're like, that's a really good idea. Maybe we need, we're both working the same number of hours a week. Maybe we need to be splitting things more equally.
Absolutely. That's good that it's reflecting in all age groups. Yeah, that's definitely needed. I'm also curious, like you mentioned, the change has been phenomenal to see that change. Are there particular strategies that have worked as an advocate that you've been following to build this culture? Are there particular strategies you think other communities and other organizations should also adopt to promote this kind of culture?
Listen as much as you talk. I think that is one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
If we're really listening to what people need and really listening to what people's concerns are, because it's really easy to assume everyone has the same concern, everyone has the same complaint, everyone has the same objections. on both sides of the issue.
Yeah.
But when you really start listening and you get down into the really nitty gritty of it,
Yeah.
then you can start finding where are those pieces where we have commonality that maybe we can figure out, okay, you are here and I'm here. Where's a program that we can implement within our organization that we can start figuring out how to make that next step we need to make. I mean, some of the other strategies too is also really knowing what you stand for. And I think this is a really, really important one, is sometimes we want to stand for so much because we believe in so much and there's so many things we feel so strongly about. I think getting really clear on this is what we stand for, this is what we are working for, and we'll be happy to collaborate and partner with all of these other different organizations, and you can have this piece and you can have this piece, and together we'll make something bigger, but this is what we're going to work on. And being willing to take the flack for not working on everything.
Yeah, that's the hardest one.
That's the hardest one. And I've been on the other side of that often. It's like, okay, well, you say you do this, but you're not doing this, and this, because I can't work on every problem. I can work on this problem, and I can do what I can for this problem. And I'm happy to work with other people working on other problems. But if I get too far out of what I'm trying to do, then it dilutes all the efforts.
Absolutely. I've also seen like a lot of people have this, it's hard for them to change the stereotypes they have. Sometimes they are willing to accept, okay, yeah, this should be equal and women should be given, but there's always like a but there's a crisis. There is an expectation that women would step back and take charge, whether if it's like caregiving for kids or something at home, any crisis, it's like, they should be the first one to it's never based on where you are in your career, for whom it would make more sense at that stage. And that's how it should be. It shouldn't be based on gender, but more sense.
And you know what I found with, helping a lot of people and like mentoring a lot of people through some of those situations, that is actually where the listening can really help. When you're dealing with a family situation, or even you're dealing with a work situation where, you do need to be the one, or maybe your partner needs to be the one that's going to have to step up and help, and your partner's pushing back going, well, I can't because of work. Listening for where can you find that piece where you can come together and, okay, maybe we're each giving up a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I said, listening more than you talk sometimes ends up being the piece that actually gets you a little further.
Absolutely. So I'm curious to know, like, if you had to give advice to women who are starting over their careers now, or like at the beginning, what advice would you give them to have a successful career in tech? I know it's a tough question, but
it is a tough question. I mean, the one piece of advice I would give them, actually I kind of have two. One is don't give up. It's really easy to listen to all the news and the media and everything, and everything that we hear is so discouraging about being a woman in this industry. Don't give up. Go find your tribe. Find other women working here who will support you. It really is a great industry to work in, and you get to do work that changes the world. So hang on to that when it all sounds really discouraging and it gets hard. Find the people that'll support you. The other is actually more of an ask than it is a piece of advice. And that is, there are a couple of generations before you who have fought really, really hard to get you what you have right now.
Yeah.
We need you to step up.
Absolutely.
And that's a really big ask for somebody that's just starting out, because it's kind of scary to use your voice when you're just starting out. But in every little way that you can.
Yeah,
We need you to step up, and we need you to continue what we have fought for.
definitely. That is a great,
Because
great piece of advice.
some of us are getting really tired,
Yes, now it's
and we
their
won't be
time.
around forever.
Yeah, now is their time to catch the baton and carry it forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I also observed that, women are doing well in tech, but if you see the statistics, after a certain stage, the C levels or like women tend to pick, HR or marketing. Not that they are not challenging fields, but there is
Mhm.
a sense of, taking a very technical role and going forward all the way. I've seen mostly men being those CEOs and those executive level,
POs and yeah.
yeah, the CTOs, and women are there, but they mostly pick like marketing or sales or HR, and they tend to pivot when it goes to that C level or like really high leadership level. What do you think the reason is, and yeah, what can we do to encourage them?
Part of it, I think, is availability of roles. There's just so few of those roles that are available. When you start getting to that level, there's only so many.
Right.
And so if that's the role that's available and you have, even a little bit of the skill set to fill it,
Yeah.
you don't want to turn down
Yeah.
that C-level role. I think that's part of it, because I've actually talked to some of the women in those roles, and they miss doing the technical stuff.
Yeah.
But this is where they ended up.
Mhm.
I think that is part of it. Sometimes it's a new challenge. And I don't dismiss that in some cases, maybe it was a little bit easier to
Mhm.
take that role than something a little more challenging. I think it's a very small percentage of women that get to that level that decide to take the easier route.
Mhm.
Um, there probably is a tiny percentage that maybe that's what it is, but I think in a lot of cases it's just there's not that many roles at that level, and this was what was available. And unfortunately, I think you have a tendency when you get to that level, they get shoehorned that direction instead of being mentored and encouraged to
Right. I
go
agree.
other directions.
Absolutely. Because I feel like it's not that women don't want to take up that roles, but because there is like as a CEO, you have to be like thick-skinned and there's a tendency that women, it's harder for a woman to be that blunt and brutal and take those hard decisions. And I feel it's a combination. Both women themselves might feel that it's more challenging, and then the world around them would not perceive them as being that brutal and thick skin to be at that level. So I think
Yeah.
it's a combination. But yeah,
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that end up being there. And the good news is we're seeing more of them. It's just a very slow pace,
it
and
is. It is.
steadily we'll get there. I'm actually getting ready to work on a new initiative. I sit on the board of an entrepreneurship organization here in Philadelphia, and we're launching a new initiative to a leadership program to help encourage more women founders and more women CEOs.
Wow, awesome. That is
Yeah.
so nice. Yes, probably we should have.
Hopefully here in a few years we'll see a lot more of them.
Yes, absolutely. We should have something like that in every state also. I guess I want to know a little bit about like how technology has changed in past 5 years or lately last 2 years with ChatGPT and all of these things. So it literally has been the reason for so many layoffs and so much happening in the world of tech. So given what is happening, what do you perceive the next decade or so looks like for tech in general without anything related to women in general? How does the future of tech look like?
I actually am very optimistic about the future of tech. I know we've had a lot of layoffs recently, and I think it's tech evening itself out. I hate saying that because it to everybody that got laid off, I feel for them so much. But there was a lot of hiring that happened during the pandemic and stuff that I think probably was a slight overreaction by a lot of the companies, and I think maybe it's kind of correcting itself, which also means we're going to go through another correction the other way, probably before too much longer. I mean, if you go back and look at the history of hiring in technology, this is what it does. It doesn't do peaks and valleys, it does waves.
True, absolutely.
And I think we're just kind of hitting one of those waves, which is really hard. And I would love to see the industry figure out how to even itself out a little bit. And it actually has done so a little bit more over like the last 10 years than it did, say, the 10 years before that.
Yeah.
So I'm really optimistic about where it's going. And I think one of the things that's going to happen is AI is going to impact what we do. There's no question about that. I don't think we actually have figured out how it's going to impact what we do yet.
To what level?
Everybody's like coming up with I want it to do this.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody's really actually figured out what it's going to be, because we have a tendency in this industry to romanticize how we want the technology to work versus how the average business person and how the average consumer actually is going to use our technology that we built.
Right. Yeah, that is so true. Everybody has their own theories of what AI is going to do, but only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah. Until we're in it for a couple of years and people, like real average people, not the tech industry, start actually using it regularly, and we see what they're using it for, we don't know. Same thing happened with virtual reality.
Yeah.
I mean, we had all these great ideas of everything it was going to be used for, and look at where we are now.
Yeah.
We're just now figuring out what it's actually going to be used for.
Yeah.
And we're still not even quite there yet. Same thing, 3D printing was the same way. I mean, all of these things that were going to revolutionize our industry, and they did, just not in the way we kept telling everybody it was going to.
Absolutely. And I've had layoffs are especially harder for immigrants or people who have like a certain number of days to find a new job. But I've seen really positive cases where people who got laid off, they are actually starting off their own companies, and they wouldn't have done that or taken that plunge if they were doing their regular jobs. So it's kind of powerful in some way for some people. It's how you look at it.
Exactly. And I've been encouraging a lot of people to do exactly that, to start considering options that they would not have considered otherwise. I only want to work for these 20 companies.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. And yeah, the great salaries, great benefits, all of that. But have you considered this industry? Have you considered a startup? Have you considered, something? Look outside where you were thinking about. Maybe starting your own company.
Yeah. Which you wouldn't do otherwise. So there's nothing to lose right now. So
Exactly. So, I mean, it's an evening out that unfortunately is extremely rough to ride through for everyone. But I think once we're on the other side of it and things
sad that it happened,
a lot of people are going to come out of it with better options than what they had.
So yeah, I think I have one last question for you. So you talked a lot about challenges women face and how the tech industry is changing. So reflecting on your entire journey, what has been the proudest moment that comes on top of your head? Like
I cannot pick a single moment or even a couple of moments. It kind of is a group of moments where women that I have met through all of the work I've done for the last 15 plus years, and actually even the career I had before I got into technology, I have met so many women that came to one of our events and sat through a technology session and was like, wow, I'm now fascinated with this technology. I want to go study this. This is what I want to do. We've had numerous ones who came in and got inspired by somebody and then went and started their own companies.
Wow, that is...
hundreds of them that found jobs or found a new mentor, or the ones that make me the happiest are the ones that they came to my event and then 2 or 3 years later, all of a sudden I see a speaking proposal come in from them. And it's
Yeah.
like they're actually ready and I can put them on stage.
Mhm.
Like those moments. And then they write me a note after I send them the invite to speak, and they're like, I was at your event a few years ago and I got so inspired and I went out and did this, and I'm so excited to be able to come speak and give back to somebody what I got.
Absolutely.
Like all of those things, that's why I do what I do, is to be able to give to other people what I got when I started in this industry, because I had a lot of people that did that for me.
Yes, yes.
I changed careers in my 30s, like almost I was in my late 30s. I was almost in my 40s. And it was, I had a lot of people who were very encouraging and really helpful, and that I can do this for somebody else that's the best thing.
Absolutely. And I bet this would be the most rewarding, more than, any financial or anything that you gain from your career. The impact that you make on people's life. You've literally changed so many people's lives. So kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. And it is. I get to do work that makes a difference, and it feels good.
All right. I think we want to end the session with something quick and fun. So I'm going
Okay.
to ask you what I call rapid fire. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and without taking time, you have to answer whatever comes to your mind.
Okay.
Okay. So let's start. Your favorite tech gadget?
My phone.
You were a programming language. Which one would you be and why?
Oh, there's part of me that wants to say COBOL because I'm old, but C++.
Which tech leader or company would you like to collaborate with?
My all-time favorites I'm already collaborating with, and that's Anita B.
Oh.
But leader that I would like to would be Melinda French Gates.
One tech trend you think will dominate in the next 5 years?
AI, but I think in a very different way than we're anticipating.
Okay, what's one book recommendation that every tech enthusiast should read?
I'm actually going to give you two, and they're not tech book, which is going to surprise everybody. One of them is called The Ripple Effect. It's by Steve Harper. And the other is Find Your Red Thread by Tamsin Webster.
Who's your tech role model or inspiration?
Every woman I meet.
Wow, nice. Any tech pet peeve or common myth you wish to debunk?
That it's only for young people.
Which app do you use the most on your phone?
Sadly, my email.
If you could travel back to any tech era, which one would it be?
Oh, I want to go back and work with the ladies on the ENIAC.
Uh-huh.
Right outside of Philly, so would love to get to know them and work on that.
Okay, last one. What's your favorite non-work related hobby?
Photography.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
I can see that.
all of those. Yes.
That is awesome. Wow. Didn't know you were also a photographer.
I'm a wannabe photographer.
Thank you for taking the time out. I know you're very busy, but I had such a fun conversation with you and learning your perspective. And I'm so glad there are women like you who encourage me and younger women and all women of all ages, no matter where they are in their life, to break the stereotypes and take control of their lives. So thank you.
Oh,